Worldwide, we're learning new things every day. What scientists or experts claimed to be true decades ago is always being improved upon or even debunked. Way before Google or social media, anyone's idea that sounded pretty convincing would go viral through word of mouth, and it was actually pretty difficult to check its credibility. You'd have to go to the library or leaf through an encyclopedia, so a lot of times we just believed what we heard, especially if a teacher said it. Now that science has clearly advanced since our school days, and we're easily able to look things up ourselves, we're realizing that what was a fact back then isn't necessarily a fact anymore. So to bring you up to speed, here are 10 things school taught you that were wrong. The food pyramid. We once thought that the USDA food guide pyramid was a map for a healthy diet, but it actually recommended way too many refined grains and complex carbohydrates. Recommending 6 to 11 servings of grain like bread, cereal, rice, and pasta per day, these carbs were actually at the base of the pyramid, which meant the base of our diet. Healthy proteins like fish, poultry, beans, and nuts were a much lower priority. It also failed to show that whole grains like brown rice and whole wheat are healthier than refined pasta, which is high in sugar. Roughly 88 Americans suffer from pre-diabetes. This is over 1/3 of the population, and it's not that much better in Canada. Experts say that this is a direct result of following the poor nutritional information from the government-prescribed food pyramid. The most controversial aspect is that this was recommended at the exact time when the United States experienced a massive surplus of grain. The government giving false information? No. People are either left-brained or right-brained. Psychobiologist Roger W. Sperry posed this theory back in the 1960s after conducting split brain experiments. He and psychologist professor Michael Gazzaniga thought that each side of the brain specialized in different jobs or roles, and that one side dominates the other. This had and still has analytical and logical people claiming that they're left-brained and creative and imaginative people claiming that they're right-brained. But this has since been debunked as a myth. Brain imaging technology has found zero evidence that one side of the brain is more dominant than the other, and that personality traits like analytical or creative don't come from a specific side of the brain. A study that analyzed brain scans of over 1,000 people from ages 7 to 29 divided areas of the brain into 7,000 regions. They found that people being more left-brained or right-brained is more of a figure of speech than an accurate description. We have only 5 senses. Yes, the big 5, touch, taste, smell, sight, and hearing, are our most pronounced senses, but we actually take in information with many different mechanisms. Proprioception tells us where our bodies are in relation to our surroundings and allows us to stay balanced. Kinesthetic receptors help us sense that our body parts like limbs and muscles are there, and how people who've lost a limb experience phantom limb syndrome. Proprioception is how we trust that things are there, like typing on a keyboard without looking, or walking without having to look at our feet. Then there's thermoception, which tells us the temperature is too hot or too cold. It's not like physically touching a hot pan, but your skin and brain simultaneously telling us if our environment is too hot or too cold. Chronoception is how we sense the passing of time. All in all, scientists would argue that we have anywhere from 22 to 33 different senses. What's that sense when you feel like you're gonna fart? Anyway, let's continue. Humans were much smarter than Neanderthals. New research suggests that Neanderthals were not hulking cavemen who died out because they weren't as sophisticated as humans. This means that the very popular monkey to man chart gets evolution all wrong. According to a 2014 study, Neanderthals actually lived alongside humans in Europe for as much as 5,400 years. They even bred with each other enough that many people today inherited up to 2% Neanderthal DNA. As a species, they were able to survive for roughly 360,000 years and had been making cave paintings, jewelry, and tools like spears and axes in Spain for about 20,000 years before modern humans arrived in Europe. A 2017 study suggests that they might have simply been outnumbered by the waves of early humans that filtered into their territory, who over time won the competition for resources. Pluto was the 9th planet. If you used a science textbook before 2006, you learned that Pluto is the 9th planet in our solar system. After discovering other similar-sized objects in the same orbit, the International Astronomical Union, or the IAU, reclassified Pluto as a dwarf planet. According to NASA, it's just one of many objects in the Kuiper Belt and doesn't travel around the sun in a perfect circle. After studying it even further, astronomers realized that it's only 2/3 the size of our moon, and from one side to the other, it's not even as long as Russia. So far, the IAU has recognized 4 other dwarf planets: Ceres, Haumea, Makemake, and Eris. Ceres orbits between Mars and Jupiter and was also called a planet when it was first identified in 1801. Over time, astronomers realized it was part of an asteroid belt, and like Pluto, they revoked its planethood. Blood is blue before it gets oxygen. When learning about your body, you were probably told that blood is blue before the heart turns it red. This is only a myth. Your blood is always red, whether it's in contact with oxygen or not. The idea that blood is blue is just an optical illusion. Deoxygenated blood is a very dark shade of red, and our veins appear to be blue because of the way our skin and tissues distort the light that's reflected back to our eyes. We're also conditioned to think of blue blood traveling to our hearts because anatomical drawings traditionally look that way. But that's actually just to make the differentiation easier. Blood does get that blood red color we know when it's full of oxygen. It just gets darker red when the oxygen has been depleted and it's traveling back to our hearts for more. We only use 10% of our brain. This myth has been reinforced over the years and even popularized by movies like Lucy and Limitless. Great movie, by the way. It's nice to think that we have this unlocked potential, but Dr. Barry Gordon, a professor of neurology at Johns Hopkins School of Medicine, noted that humans use virtually every part of their brain. The average adult brain is about 2% of our body weight, but it uses about 20% of our oxygen and 20% of the calories that we consume. In the 1970s, Bulgarian psychologist Georgi Lozanov believed that people might only use 5 to 10% of their mental capacity, but that has never been proven, and mental capacity is much different than the use of our brain as a whole. Imaging techniques like positron emission tomography show that large areas of the brain are used for many activities, and scientists have yet to find an area that doesn't do anything. Camels store water in their humps. You may have been taught that camels use their humps to store extra water when the water resources get scarce in the desert, but their mounds are actually filled with fat so that they can travel days through the desert without food. A camel's hump can store up to 80 pounds of fat, and the size of it changes depending on how much food the camel eats. Two-humped camels are called Bactrian camels, and they can obviously store much more than one-humped camels, called dromedaries. When they use the fat in their hump, it will droop to the side but return to normal with proper rest and food. Saggy humps. Camels don't actually need to store water in their humps since they have the ability to drink up to 32 gallons of water in under 15 minutes. My lumps, my lovely camel lumps. Check it out. Thomas Edison invented the light bulb. It's common knowledge that Thomas Edison invented the light bulb, but there were actually 5 iterations of the light bulb before Edison's. In 1879, Edison became the first person to patent a practical, affordable version that became commonly used, so his name became synonymous with the light bulb. But in 1802, 77 years before this, Humphrey Davy invented the first electric light called the carbon arc lamp by passing an electric current through 2 carbon electrodes. It was the first successful artificial light demonstration and provided the basis for many cities' electric street lights. Even in Edison's case, he received all the credit because he owned and operated the company where it was developed, but many historical sources now believe that the light bulb was the work of a group of scientists that he employed. Kind of like Steve Jobs and the iPhone, you know what I mean? You had the vision, but who actually made it? You know what I mean? Your tongue doesn't have a taste map. We've all seen pictures of the taste map that divides the tongue into zones for different tastes like bitter, sour, salty, and sweet. It originated from a 1901 paper by a German scientist, David P. Hanig, but the map we know is a generalized version of his findings. Others took the map literally and expanded on it for decades. The reality is that the different tastes are sensed by taste buds all over your tongue. Each taste bud has 50 to 100 taste receptor cells that respond to different qualities. There's even a taste that isn't accounted accounted for on the map, umami. This is the savoriness associated with amino acids like those in cooked meats or mushrooms. It's true that some taste buds are more receptive to certain tastes than others, but the difference is very slight, and the locations of those taste buds aren't separated into groups like this taste map suggests. But that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed this. As always, please drop a like and leave a comment, and even share this video if you really liked it, because all those things help me out a lot in the algorithm. And also, be sure to follow me on all my socials, especially Twitch, in the description of this video. All the links are there because I go live every day and I post a lot because I like talking to you guys. All right, that's all. See you guys next time.